On this episode, we interview Joey Liptapanlop about a popular petition he started to urge 7-Eleven stores to use less plastic.
So even if you still can't figure out if your half-empty bag of soda should go in the recycle bin or in the wet garbage bin, you'll enjoy this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen. I came to Thailand in 2001 planning to stay for 120 days and have currently overstayed my welcome by about 5,071%.
Something around that number, as it would be. And I am Ivo Terra, an American expat living full-time in Bangkok since the beginning of 2016. Thanks for joining us here in the Big Mango.
Now, we want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, a guy by the name of Mr. Woolly Beans, who supports us at the show shout-out level. So stick around after we're done talking about Bangkok versus the plastic bags to hear about how Mr. Woolly Beans is, I'm pretty sure, sending us coded messages. Now, if you become a patron, you get early access to each show, you get cool swag and extra content like the bonus show that we just recorded, in which we talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about penis whitening and also the latest setback in my ongoing struggle to find big shoes in Bangkok, which is driving me crazy. Are those two related, penis whitening and big shoes? You'll have to listen to find out.
I'm going to vote no on any of that, but regardless, it's just to listen to find out.
So, Ivo, this is actually the second time we're recording the show.
Listeners, don't tell.
What happened was we had a glitch last night, a technical problem. And this is show number 2. But don't worry, because we're recreating the first show as much as we can, right down to my delicious drink of Jack Daniels and Coke that was brought specifically here from my visiting sister. So I'm doing my part to put the verve and the vivacity of the first show into our second show here.
So you're trying to slur your words in the exact same place this time around. I like it.
You're not a boss of me. Anyway. So listen, I was reading BK Magazine the other day, and I came across an article about a petition on change.org that is trying to get 7-Eleven stores throughout Thailand to reduce the number of plastic bags that they use. Now, you and I, Ivo, we've talked about this before. We've bitched about how many plastic bags are forced upon you and how you go and buy 1 cup of yogurt and you're given a spoon and a straw and a plastic bag to put it in and who knows what else.
The spoon and straw are also individually wrapped in plastic bags.
Right. So the petition that caught my attention was started by a Thai guy named Joey and kind of forgotten about until it started getting some media attention because in the time that he had forgotten about it, it had managed to rack up an impressive number of signatures. So since you and I are always happy to hear about someone else out there who is raising awareness of this particularly important issue in Bangkok, we thought we would chat to him on the show. He was kind enough to come on. And this is my conversation with Joey.
Next station, Nana.
So we're here with Joey Liptapanlop. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
Cool. I managed that on the first try. Yep. I'm so proud of myself. Well, Joey, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
So what happened was we've never actually met in person, but I was reading BK Magazine, and they had a really neat story about this guy, who started a petition on change.org about trying to get them to reduce the use of plastic bags in Bangkok.
Right.
Now on the show before, my co-host Ivo and I, and we've bitched about this topic endlessly, about the bags, the spoons, the straws, the wrapped bananas. So it's always nice to see another voice out there kind of fighting the good fight. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how this petition came to be.
Right. Well, so this was a petition I actually started way back 3 years ago. And I still remember that what made me decide to start this petition was I was standing in line at a 7-Eleven behind a tourist, actually, who was, coming to Thailand and just wanted to buy a tourist SIM card. So he got one of those really small packs with a SIM card in it. And I just saw them put that in a plastic bag. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous. And I mean, it's something I've thought about before, growing up in Thailand. You're seeing so many times you go into a 7-Eleven and you buy something so small and they give you a plastic bag, be it like a pack of gum, or even the thing with the straws as well. If you my favorite thing that sometimes happens to me is that I go and buy a gallon of milk and they give me 4 straws. as if, I'm going to sit around with three of my friends and drink from that gallon of milk.
Like you come home from a good workout or something. Man, I could really
Right.
go with a gallon of milk.
Right. So it's something that's been on my mind for some time. And I studied in Australia and the UK, where a lot of stores actually charge you to use a plastic bag. And I got into a habit of bringing a tote bag whenever I went shopping. So yeah, I came back to Thailand after my university years, and that was one aspect that was something I felt that needed to change. And I didn't feel like it needed to be something as extreme as starting to charge people for plastic bags. But I just thought, all it takes is one simple change, and that's for the convenience stores to stop giving plastic bags by default, and making it so that by default they do not give plastic bags, and that people would have to ask for plastic bags if they wanted one.
This is pretty common in a lot of Western countries, and I'm from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they instituted that law, this is probably about 1992, 1994,
Right.
somewhere around there. And people hated it.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5 cents per bag. People hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was letters in the newspapers, and this is really before the internet was around. So, people were writing letters to the editor and complaining on TV shows and things like that. But now, like, it's just the way things are done, and no one complains about it anymore. And everyone is on board with what a positive change it has made, because it just sort of nips the problem in the bud and removes this major source of pollution.
Right. And in fact, Thailand has just been doing a bit of research before it came on the show, and just found that Thailand is actually the number 6 highest polluter of plastic in the world.
Wow.
There's around, 1.03 million metric tons per year that's released into the water from Thailand, which ranks us as number 6 in the world of the highest polluters. But I wanted to go back to what you said about how when it was first launched in Canada. First of all, my petition is not trying to get the convenience stores to charge the bags. It's just having an opt-in from the perspective as the customers, in that we have to be the one to say, okay, can you please give me a plastic bag? So the plastic bag would still be free. But the second thing is that I actually grew up at a time in Thailand when things like environmentalism were becoming a thing. I remember when I was a kid, words like reuse, reduce, recycle, that wasn't anything foreign. That was something we did learn in school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and it was that there were some government campaigns back when I was young. There was a Thai campaign called the Divided by Two campaign. So that's part of the reduce part, more than the reuse and recycle, where they're trying to encourage you to, reduce the use of not just plastic bags, but a lot of other things that could pollute the environment. And we also had the campaign against littering, which I think was actually rather successful. When I was little, there was this campaign called the Magic Eyes. The Magic Eyes can see when you litter. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of stuff that my generation grew up with, the younger generation of Thais.
So the idea of being more environmentally conscious and being a bit more aware of the trash that one creates is not a foreign idea, and it's not a new idea at all.
No, absolutely not. And it's something that I think now that my generation has started to enter like the workforce and started to be in a position to actually make impacts about this. You're starting to see the changes. There's a number of like Thai startups, and as well as other Thai companies that focus more on environment as well, made by young Thai entrepreneurs.
It's a really interesting time in Thailand, and that's a good point, because people of your generation, and you're just a young kid compared to me, I'm an old fogey.
Well,
but you're sort of maybe not the first, but one of the first generations, or maybe the one before you, who is sort of being educated overseas and seeing how the rest of the world works is becoming a much more common thing. And a lot of these ideas and concepts are being brought back to Thailand, given a Thai spin and instituted here. And you see it in everything from restaurants to nightclubs to social movements to, ways to raise children. And it's not that the old way was bad. It's just that people are saying, hey, this has been adopted over here because it has been shown a great success. Let's try it and see what happens.
Right.
So this can certainly be one of those. And it makes me think of something that someone told me a long time ago, and it sounded like crap when I first heard it, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. They said that a lot of people in Thailand, especially a lot of older people, don't think much about throwing stuff on the ground, throwing plastic on the ground, or just littering. Because when they grew up 30, 40, 50 years ago, everything was wrapped in banana leaves and there wasn't fast food and not everything was wrapped in plastic. And so it's sort of ingrained in people like my mother-in-law, who is Thai and a lovely lady, but the amount of crap and plastic trash she generates is obscene.
Right.
And she doesn't give it a second thought. What do you think about that?
Well, you know what that reminds me of, Loathe, because I remembered when I was a kid, I still remember when I was very little, most of the gatongs used to be made out of the banana leaves.
Yeah.
And then for a while, there was a shift from banana leaves towards foam gatongs.
Right.
Which the justification at that time was that foam gatongs are easier to clean up because they just stay afloat. Whereas banana gatongs kind of sink and they clog up the pipes. And then, a few years ago, the attitudes changed back again towards banana leaves just because, well, styrofoam, similar to plastic, it really, first of all, it looks bad and it also causes a lot of pollution. And now within the last few years, you start to see, I guess, the biodegradable gatongs really surging up, like gatongs made out of bread or even ice now.
Ice? I've never heard of that before.
Yes, like the last 1 or 2 years, I've started to see gatongs actually made of ice so that they would just melt.
Oh, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah. So you see these attitude changes as the years go by. But I think what you mentioned about the older generation, there's definitely something there. And I don't think it's just in Thailand. It's just, I think especially with the developing countries, within the last 30, 40 years, there was much more of a focus on development. At all costs, industrialization, development at all costs, with kind of putting the environment in the background. And it's only in the last couple of years that this trend of environmentalism has caught on.
Was there anything in Australia that you saw that kind of clicked for you and made a lasting impression?
Not exactly. I mean, I just got into a habit there of bringing my tote bag whenever I went grocery shopping. It was actually in the UK that I first went to a grocery store that charges you for using a plastic bag. So that was the first time I saw something that, okay, well, that's a really good way to reduce the use of plastic bags. But when I came back to Thailand, in fact, that was when tote bags were starting to become not really a thing, but become visible, I guess. You started to see people selling and using tote bags.
Now they're almost like a fashion accessory.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's like what you said earlier about putting a Thai spin on things, because in Thailand there's a lot of art and creativity, and a lot of the tote bags have got this really Thai kind of flavor and look to them, which I think is
indeed.
Yeah, you hit two birds with one stone there with saving the environment and then sort of promoting the Thai culture as well.
Look cool, save the world. Yeah. Can't go wrong. The one thing that the obvious solution for me would be, every rainy season, it's just the flooding doesn't seem to stop. And then you're walking down the street and you notice, oh, that drain is clogged with plastic bags. And it only takes 2 or 3, and suddenly that drain is totally useless. And I'm no aquaologist or floodologist or whatever you call it, but it seems to me that this would be like a no-brainer for a huge countrywide initiative to sort of, like you said, kill 2 or more birds with one stone. Like there's so many knock-on effects from these things that could be, if not solved, then definitely alleviated.
And I'm not the first person to do something like this. In fact, 7-Eleven themselves, or the CP, the parent company of 7-Eleven, once initiated a campaign against plastic bags. But their campaign was more putting the onus on the customers, saying that, if you, the customers, don't need a plastic bag, please tell us. So I was just sort of taking that and spinning it a bit and saying, well, you know what, this is something that we as customers could work together with the grocery stores, but putting the onus on the grocery stores.
Right. And I remember years ago, probably 6 years ago now, I wrote something on my blog where I managed to get in touch with someone in the PR department of CP who owns the massive nationwide conglomerates of 7-Elevens that you see on every corner. And it was a very nice guy, and he gave me a very honest interview. And he basically said, he's like, yeah, we're aware of it. We know what needs to be done, but it's not, you can't just flick a switch. It's not something that happens overnight. And let's be clear, we understand that. We're not blaming CP or 7-Eleven or any of the other stores. I use plastic bags as much as the next person, but it certainly wouldn't happen overnight. But it seems to me something that, it's a clear goal that you could work towards. And there seems to be some pretty well-defined steps you could take. And I work in PR. Man, they could spin this into the most positive looking PR thing, a story of the year. Yeah. And when you're the size of 7-Eleven in Thailand, it's your name, your word, your thing, your ideas carry a lot of weight and a lot of influence. So your petition, when you started it, did you just kind of forget about it? And why is it sort of getting some play now?
Well, when I started the petition, I remembered, this was actually the very first petition I started on change.org, still my only one so far. And so when I first started, I was really excited, check back every day. And after a week, I got about 12 signatures. So I just kind of forgot about it and just left it there. And that was 3 years ago. And then about 1 or 2 months ago, I got an email from change.org saying, your petition is doing really well. It's getting close to 10,000 signatures. So I was really surprised. I checked back and saw that it was nearly reaching 10,000 indeed. So I started to share it again. And this time, I think it somehow really caught on. I'm not sure if it's just sort of my own personal network that now when I share stuff on my Facebook, I have more friends than I had 3 years ago. So it's reached a larger number of people. Or, I'm pretty sure also that attitudes in Thailand have also changed due to campaigns, even by 7-Eleven themselves, the one that I mentioned before, to raise awareness about issues like plastic bag usage.
Right. I'm looking at the petition now, and I loaded this page about 20 minutes ago. It's got 22,243. So that's amazing. And has there been any response in the Thai media? I'm just obviously only looking at the English media here, but
so far I've only heard about BK Magazine because they got in touch with me and asked to interview me. And the article that BK Magazine did itself got shared, I think 1,500 shares or something like that, or 1,500 likes or shares, something really high as well. And there was also a Thai media channel that picked it up and just sort of ran it as a picture on the Facebook page. So it's gained some traction, and it's also led to some interesting discussions as well. Not everyone agrees with this petition, and I think a lot of it comes from what I like to say is that Thais are very service-minded. And I think part of the reason why 7-Eleven and other grocery stores are so accommodating with, giving you lots of plastic bags and straws and sometimes 2 plastic bags when you buy a lot of stuff is that it is part of this service mind that they want to make it easy for you to carry things. And there's people who still defend that kind of thought, which is fine. I think, it's a very interesting discussion to have about this idea of, do you want to be accommodating to your customers, or do you want to cause a bit of inconvenience to some customers who might think, oh, now I have to ask for a plastic bag.
That's why I think this petition makes sense, because it's not you're not trying to change the system. You're not trying to force people to pay more. You're just trying to get people to ask for a plastic bag if they want one. or flip it around, you're trying them not to automatically bag any item that comes across the counter.
Right.
So if you want a bag,
Yeah.
great, go nuts. But if you don't need one, they're not going to get pushed on you, So I think it's a great idea, man. And it's so good to see that another voice out there is having a bit of an effect and making some waves. And hopefully one day, like I've said it on the show before, in Thailand, it's totally cool. Anything is totally cool until it becomes embarrassing. And then things start to change. So maybe this will get out there, and they'll realize that it's for the good of everyone, for the good of the country.
Yeah.
If something like this starts to take hold. So
yeah, and I just want to give a bit of a plug before we go. Is that there are also other campaigns similar to mine regarding plastic bag. So I just want people to check some of them out as well. Some of them have been going on for much longer than I have. There's a campaign on a website called weeboon.com, WEEBOON, and it's a campaign called Support Our Fight Against Plastic Bag Waste in Thailand. So that's one campaign, and I think it's got a more catchier hashtag, which is #DeathByPlastic.
It sounds like an awesome metal band.
Right, yeah. And also Greenpeace Southeast Asia is also trying to raise awareness in solving Thailand's plastic bag crisis, as they call it as well. So there are a number of other groups and people who are also working towards this, and hopefully I can be part of the effort as well.
Cool. Well, we're going to link to all of those on our website. So listeners, if you're hearing this and you want an easy link to the petitions on change.org, just head over to bangkokpodcast.com and this particular episode page, and we'll have all the links there. And if you go to change.org and it's in Thai and you don't understand what's going on, Joey, your particular page, I'm looking at it now, it's in Thai and English.
Right. Yeah. The English part is at the bottom. Yep.
Yeah. I'm assuming not all of them are like that. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and the very bottom right, there's a thing where you can change the language, and it's super easy to sign a petition here. It takes 10 seconds and you're done. It takes 5 seconds and you're done. Yep. So I urge everyone to do this one and all of the other ones that Joey mentioned. And hey, man, maybe one day we can go to 7-Eleven. We'll walk out of there with a cloth bag, no spoons, no straws, and no plastic wrapped bananas.
Yeah, hope to see that day.
Fingers crossed. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good on you for creating something like this. And best of luck. May you be a voice for this kind of stuff in the future.
Thank you very much.
สถานีต่อไปเพลินจิต Next station เพลินจิต
So I can recall, Greg, a time when I was living in Arizona at the time. I just moved from California, and this is like late 90s, early aughts. And it seems to me everyone at the time was carrying around bags in their pockets because it was the whole save the world or save the earth movement was going pretty strong, and we didn't want to use any of the bags. So we kept these little crumpable, little tight plastic bags, but cloth bags in our pockets. It was the cool and hip thing to do. That was in America. Did Canada go through something similar?
Yeah, it was about the same time, probably mid to late 90s. And like I was explaining to Joey on the interview, when they first implemented this, it was 5 cents a bag, I think, and you had to buy each bag, especially at the big Tesco of Canada. And people were pissed. Like, it was really controversial. But now it's just the way things are done, and I don't think anyone would change it to back how it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know how we would. I mean, I don't remember what it's like in America. It's been gone for so long. I don't know what the case is. But
yeah, actually, I could be completely talking out of my ass. I don't know. I've been gone for so long, but that's how it was when I left.
They could be triple bagging plastic for all you know.
Who knows
what it is? Well, they definitely have their work cut out for them. So kudos on yous, Joey. I hope that everything goes the way that you want it to. Much like everybody's favorite segment of the show, possibly the second worst segue ever, Love, Loathe, or Leave, where we look at one minor aspect of living in Bangkok and find out if it's something the two of us love about living in Bangkok, loathe about expat life, or if it's something we hate so much that it just might cause us to leave Thailand. This week, Greg, I have the honors, and I'm going to stay controversial.
Oh, good. I can't wait to respond to this and be completely even-handed away. What is it? What do you got?
I want to find out how you feel about that power that you and I have, that special card that we carry with us everywhere we go here in Bangkok. That is the card of white privilege.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for putting me on the spot. White privilege in Thailand. Now, when you say white privilege, can that be construed to also mean Farang privilege?
Well, I guess it depends on the definition of the word Falang. Many people assume Falang means not Thai, and I don't think that's true, right? Because Falang means like guava fruit, right? So we have the same skin complexion as the guava fruit, which is more of a pinkish, which we call white. But yes, so I think it is the standard Falang. People that look like us, people look like you and me, Caucasoids.
Caucasoids. Well, actually, the term, as far as I know, the term Farang comes from the word Farangset, which means French. And the French were one of the very first settlers in this region, along with the Portuguese. I don't know how to say that in Thai, but Farangset stuck. And as far as I know, again, the word Farang has just sort of come to mean a general foreigner, although it's usually applied to a white person. But
right,
like you said, it's a gray area, and it depends who you ask. So yeah.
But I'm asking you. You're white. I'm white. We are white guys. We are Caucasoids. And we get away with a lot of stuff here in Thailand because we're white.
Give me an example.
Well, when people come to my condo, new people, when friends come to my condo and they're coming in, I tell them where I live, and I say, then you have to, just call me when you get here and I'll meet you at the elevators. And they always say, well, don't you have like security guards at the gate? Yes, I do. Well, how will we get past the security guards? What room number? I said, you don't have to do that. You just show your card. And they say, what are you talking about? I mean, your white card. That's it. Just simply drive right on through and they will wave you on. Every Thai person that drives into our condo gets stopped, questioned. Roll down your window, please. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
White folk live here. Are you sure you're supposed to be here?
Well, it's interesting you say this because I just did this actually twice this past week. And a lot of times I carry my backpack home from work with me every day. And a lot of times I'll get asked to stop at the BTS station, especially coming home. And a lot of times I'll just pretend I don't see the guard motioning for me to come over, and I'll walk by because so many people are walking by and they can't check everyone. And when they single me out to spot check me, I guess I pull out my card. I just kind of keep on walking. And yeah, I think it's probably a combination of the fact of how I look. I mean, I'm a giant bearded scowling guy.
That is true.
I've got bitchy resting face. I'm also a foreigner, so they probably don't want to bother speaking English to me. And I'm walking really fast. So I think it's just sort of all those things rolled together and they're like, the hell with it. He's probably fine. So, if I have to choose one, I got to say I love it, but I think this is kind of like corruption. When it works in your favor, it's great. But once it starts going against your wishes, you're like, this is bullshit, So, if pressed, yeah, I love it. But I guess this really depends on your perspective.
Yeah, it certainly does. And with that privilege, the privileges that come with it. I totally get that. And like you, it certainly works in my favor the vast majority of the time. And of any inconveniences I might have playing that card, I'm not stupid enough to try and say I'm being singled out or that's somehow racist of them. No, I'm not making those accusations. I'm woke enough to understand that reverse racism thing doesn't actually work. So my answer to the question is I loathe the fact that I love it because I think that just makes me less of a nice human being. I wish it was different, but it's not. It's the way I live. It's where I live. And it's not like I can fight against system because this is Thailand and I can't fix Thailand. Luckily, this one goes my way.
Oh, I didn't know love, loathe, or leave, the loathe, live, LLOLTILI. I didn't know that was an option too.
But we're going to have the world's longest acronym for this segment, without a doubt.
Yeah. All right. I get it. I get where you're coming from, and I got to side with you on that one too.
Hey, listen, before we wrap things up, as we mentioned, Greg, at the beginning of the show, we wanted to say thank you to a Mr. Woolly Beans who's lending us his support at the show shout out level. And Greg, I'm curious what sort of wonderful information you found out about Mr. Woolly Beans that is clearly all true that you would now like to share with our listener.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked because unsurprisingly, Mr. Woolly Beans is a pseudonym. But judging from our correspondence with this mystery man, he's a very smart guy. And that led me to believe there might be a secret code hidden in his name. So what do you do when you got a name like that? I pulled up my trusty anagram name generator. You know what I got?
No.
Ball Moonrise, BAWL Moonrise. Now, you translate that directly into Thai and you get Ron Jan Kun, RJK. What's RJK, you might ask? Aha. Well, It's the IATA code for Rijeka Airport in Croatia. And what are the coordinates? 45.218438, 14.569837. But Mr. Woollybeans is tricky, remember? So I reversed the coordinates and I got a location in Yemen, very close to a restaurant called Golden Star. So clearly, this is Mr. Woollybeans' way of telling us, you and me, Evo, that we are his stars and that he wants to buy us lunch. So thank you, sir. We will take you up on that offer next time you're in town, and kudos on the very complicated code that you've employed.
So this whole thing was a code for a restaurant around the Illuminati. Are you sure you're not Charlie Daniels talking to Taco Bell on Twitter?
The devil went down to a pyramid.
Well, thank you, Mr. Woollybeans, and thank you, everyone, who's supporting us on Patreon. We do appreciate that. If you would like to get the show early, also get access to bonus content, or maybe just give us $1 or so, that's fine. It helps to keep the show going. And if you want Greg to do what he just did to Mr. Woollybeans or Mr. Ball Moonrise, rank that as illegitimate children, I suppose. You can sign up for us at the show shout-out level. We'll take any amount of money you want to give to us. Thank you very much for that. Head to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and lend us your support. We really do appreciate it.
And thanks to you. That's right. You for listening to the Bangkok Podcast. If you want to send us a comment or a suggestion for a show idea, you can reach us through the contact form on bangkokpodcast.com, or you can reach out directly to me on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg.
Or you can send us a message on Facebook, on Twitter, or online. We're at Bangkok Podcast. We're very good at responding to your comments, answering your questions, and going ahead and saying thanks and all that to the great praise you give to us on all those various channels. For Greg Jorgensen, I am Evo Terra. We'll be back next week with more stories of our lives lived in the City of Angels right here on the Bangkok Podcast. Chokti krap!
That reminds me about the sign outside by my garbage room.
Yeah.
There's 2 signs for dry garbage and wet garbage, but the dry garbage sign says dry garbage and the wet garbage sign says wet grabbage. So
I'm not sure what that means. Is it like a babbage, gabbage, garbage? What does it mean?
I don't know. It's probably not a guy you want to run into in a dark alley, Mr. Grabbage.
No, I don't want to know about anything about Mr.
Stay away from me, wet grabbage.
He is not woke. There's no way we're doing that.